The premier on a proposed pipeline to BC.
We've allocated $14 million to get it through the first couple of stages.
Using Alberta taxpayers' money. BC's leadership weighs in.
Incredibly alarming to British Columbians.
The province promises financial help for some parents days before teachers walk off the job. And the vacant Ogden Legion is no more.
The only way that there was a fire in there is with somebody that used accelerant.
Destroyed by a fire overnight.
CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Camilla Di Giuseppe.
Good evening. It's top Danielle Smith's wish list since she became premier, but getting any movement on a new pipeline from Alberta to the West Coast has not been easy. Today, Smith announcing her government will step in and try to jumpstart that project with millions of taxpayers' dollars. Tim Brooke explains.
Premier Danielle Smith hasn't held back her feelings about a new crude pipeline to Northwest BC.
What stands before us right now is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to unlock our wealth of resources and become a world-leading energy superpower.
So far, no private company has stepped forward to bankroll a new pipeline. So Wednesday, Smith announced she'll lead the process to build the application for a 1 million barrel per day pipeline.
If we fix the investment climate and get an agreement with the federal government to move forward on this on the major projects list, that proponents will step up and it will be built with private sector money.
The province will work with 3 Canadian operators, Enbridge, Trans Mountain, and Southbow. The group will research a route and eventually put together an application. Smith is convinced by the time that proposal is done, the feds and Indigenous groups will be on board and private investments will come.
The fact that we're engaging early and we're being transparent and having very respectful conversations certainly helps.
For now, the province is putting up $14 million of taxpayer funds to support early planning work.
It's going to be a real tough go because the private sector, despite all the egging on of Alberta, has not been willing to step up on its own. We've seen so many things fail.
And of course, others will have a say.
Premier Smith continues to advance a project that is entirely taxpayer funded, has no private sector proponent, is not a real project, and is incredibly alarming to British Columbians.
Smith says she did give BC's premier a courtesy call earlier this week, but that hasn't convinced him. And Smith is well aware her government can't do this alone.
I have not publicly opposed any project that has been proposed by any of my premierial counterparts. This is a test of whether Canada works as a country.
Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
The province says consultation work has already begun with the goal to submit the project ahead of Ottawa's next major projects list. Well, the clock is ticking on negotiations as a province-wide teacher strike is expected to begin on Monday. Parents, students, and community groups are bracing for widespread disruption in classrooms across Alberta. Mark Villani now on how the province plans to support those impacted by the looming strike.
Alberta's education minister is making a final push to avoid a strike.
We're asking them to go talk with their members, come back to the table.
But teachers aren't budging.
We have large class sizes. We do not have the resources we need to meet our students' needs.
The province is offering a 12% wage increase for teachers over 4 years, an offer some thought to be too good to refuse.
I'm baffled that they turned this down.
Critics like the Canadian Taxpayers Federation argue Alberta teachers rejected a deal that would have made them the highest paid in all of Western Canada. This grid shows the increases, and by year 9,
teachers are making $110,000 a year. Plus benefits, plus holidays. Teachers should probably ask themselves if they've got it that bad.
We think that's fair and reasonable. We also want to address the classroom conditions. There's no question classrooms are growing.
The offer also included funds for 3,000 new teachers and 1,500 education assistants. But Alberta's opposition is calling out the UCP for issuing layoff notices to 20,000 support staff members during the pandemic.
When you haven't taken action for 6 years, swoop swooping in at the last minute. Now that's a drop in the bucket.
It means contingency plans are now in place. The province launched a study guide to help students keep up with learning online. Parents of children under 12 are also eligible to receive $30 per day per child to help with tutoring or childcare. That's money coming out of savings due to the strike, but it's still an estimated $15 million each day.
It doesn't outweigh the long-term effects of the underfunding that we're seeing in our public education system.
Meanwhile, the city of Calgary is helping parents with extended day camp programming at Village Square and Southland Leisure Centre. Other organizations like Storybook Theatre are also offering strike support drama camps.
We're offering extended drop-off and pickup times for parents to kind of help support their busier schedules.
But the hope is to prevent this from happening entirely, and Alberta's government says it's willing to make adjustments.
Let's have that conversation. We're certainly open to it.
Mark Villani, CTV News, Calgary.
The education minister says he's willing to agree to increase funding for more teachers and maybe more education assistants. A Calgary high school student is speaking out after the executive director of the Premier's office suggested he needed a spanking. The controversial comment was made at an Alberta Next town hall on Monday after the teen was cut off mid-question to the panel. Terry Fikowski has more.
Evan Lee is a high school student in Calgary and worried about the impacts a looming teacher strike will have on him and his peers.
We are especially impacted by it, including things like diplomas, and then we also have to do university applications.
The 17-year-old took his concerns to the Alberta Next town hall panel Monday in Calgary, but his microphone was cut off mid-question.
Why is the government handing out
I applaud you coming here to speak. I don't applaud how you're trying to speak. It's not making any sense.
But it's a comment from moderator and the executive director of the Premier's office, Bruce McAllister, that sparked boos from the crowd.
Your parents should turn you over your knee. Let's go over here.
That's rude.
I do consider those comments just absolutely unacceptable.
McAllister posted an apology on X calling the remarks inappropriate. But the leader of the opposition NDP says this is not the first time he has been unprofessional in the town halls and should be dismissed.
Knock it off or I'll ask you to leave.
A lot of, frankly, belittling and insulting comments to citizens, which I just find so objectionable and so disgusting.
The Premier calls the comment off-colored, but is satisfied with McAllister's apology.
You have to engage with people respectfully. That's my expectation of my staff, and I've asked him to do better.
The Premier, who sits on the panel, is criticized for not stepping in when it happened. And Lee is disappointed McAllister has not reached out to him directly.
He decided to censor free speech, which I thought was extremely shocking and should not happen in Canada.
One political scientist believes what happened reflects poorly on the Alberta Next Town Hall initiative.
These town halls are designed to support the government. They're not really designed to tap into public opinion or to allow people to speak their mind.
But Lee is hopeful what happened to him will spark change and encourage other young Albertans to get engaged.
Ignoring today's issues that we youth face is alienating tomorrow's electorate.
Terry Fikowski, CTV News, Calgary.
What's your question or comment tonight for the Alberta Next panel?
Tonight was the final Alberta Next panel town hall, but this one was held virtually and moderated by McAllister. Albertans called in to weigh in on 6 topics that could become referendum questions, some of which have been seen as critical in increasing Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada, according to the UCP. The panel will now be tasked to submit its recommendations to the provincial government by the end of the year. Alberta now has the lowest minimum wage in the country. 5 provinces all increased their minimum wages today. Their increases were tied to Canada's growing consumer price index, which is an indicator of inflation. Alberta's minimum wage is $15 an hour and has been that way since 2018. One economics professor says since that time, the cost of living has increased by over 25%.
If you have a full-time job, you're working 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, $15 an hour, that's $30,000 a year. I don't care that Alberta has the lowest income tax of any province. I don't care that Alberta doesn't have a sales tax. When the Premier is saying that there's all of these other supports that help people so that that $30,000 stretches further, you can't live in Edmonton or Calgary, let alone Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Fort McMurray.
The Premier says Alberta has the highest youth unemployment rate and claims raising minimum wage would make it harder for them to find jobs. Danielle Smith says don't expect any minimum wage change until youth unemployment numbers drop. The search for Darius McDougall has been called off. RCMP say the 6-year-old is now presumed dead. The autistic boy has been missing in the Crow's Nest Pass area since September 21st. A 22-square-kilometer area of difficult mountain terrain has been searched to no avail. RCMP say all searchers have now left the area. Investigators insist their work will continue until Darius is found and are now relying on tips from the public. The abandoned Ogden Legion that has sat vacant for more than a decade caught fire early this morning. Investigators are trying to determine how it happened. It comes just months after the owner sought a judicial review following an Alberta court ruling in favor of the city's plan to demolish the building. Here's Tyson Fedor.
Flashing lights and flames pouring out of the roof of the abandoned Ogden Legion around 2:45 a.m. Wednesday.
What they reported, there was actually heavy smoke in the area, and they thought it was a grass fire in the field across the street. But then they could see some visible flame in one of the doors coming out of the southeast corner of the building.
11 fire trucks and 30 firefighters were called to the scene. A defensive exterior attack was set up due to the unsafe conditions such as health hazards and structure issues.
It was unsafe for our crews to go inside, so we set up 2 ladder trucks and flowed water.
Crews eventually entered the building after a demolition crew arrived, knocking down about 1/3 of the building impacted by the blaze.
Just when it hasn't been maintained in any condition, there's high risk of things falling on us inside, potential building collapse, unknown hazards.
The building's owner says the fire was not that serious.
There was a slight fire. It's not as big as what they pretended it was. The building is a 4-hour burn time. In other words, it's like a concrete bunker.
Dean McKenzie says the building will be demolished, but believes this blaze was intentionally set.
The only way that there was a fire in there was somebody that used accelerant.
The building has been vacant for more than a decade after the Legion closed down. It's been slated for demolition since 2023 after its deteriorating state and being a risk to public safety. McKenzie sought a judicial review of the decision that was dismissed earlier this year.
I have to say I wasn't surprised. There have been fires here before. And we've been warning people about the dangers of this building for years now, and we just want it gone.
The Community Association says the city has told them destruction of the site should take place soon.
Work was going to start in October to remove the building before the winter, and we're worried now that this fire could complicate things with a possible investigation.
The cause is still under investigation. No one was injured. Tyson Fedor, CTV News, Calgary.
Calgary police say there is no indication at this time that arson is involved. Danielle is in with our first look at the weather. No complaints from my end because I'll take this temperature. I'll take the condition. They're great.
I know. And you know what? We have a repeat tomorrow. Perfect. So that's fantastic. Beautiful day to be outside. Winds calm. Temperatures warm once again. A good amount of sunshine. Keep in mind, a little chilly to start off the day. 8 degrees at 8 a.m. But yeah, once again, a high of 19 degrees. By the weekend, though, this is a very different story. Our temperature will be significantly cooler. I'll show you that in just a little bit.
The zombies came out to haunt the streets of Inglewood tonight thanks to a zombie makeup workshop put on by the community's BIA. Donations from the spooky event will go to Woods Homes. Well done, everyone. Well, Calgary's plan to add more housing is front and center in the upcoming civic election. Next, a closer look at where candidates stand on the blanket zoning divide. A packed house at the Central Library tonight where a mayoral candidates debate took place, put on by Bow Valley College. The mayoral hopefuls, including incumbent Jody Gondek, spoke on the challenges facing Calgarians and their views for the future. One contentious issue is rezoning. The city approved blanket rezoning more than a year ago, but now most mayoral candidates are vowing to scrap it. Advocates say the move was needed to boost housing supply, but those against it say it shouldn't be one size fits all. Jordan Canagan reports.
The strategy moved ahead after a marathon meeting last year. Now all Calgary voters will get to weigh in on blanket rezoning.
I think what we're hearing from the people who are interested in this topic is they want repeal and reset.
My position would be, this is an issue that we settled with a public hearing, multiple public hearings over this council's term.
As an election campaign ramps up, 8 of the 9 mayoral candidates say they'd either get rid of upzoning altogether or they'd keep it but make major amendments. Only Jyoti Gondek says it was the right move.
When it comes to zoning, I wanted to ensure that as people are aging in their communities and if they need to downsize, they're able to find something in that neighborhood that they love.
My pledge is to repeal blanket rezoning, reinstate what was, which means that you're bringing people back to the process.
I'm not one of those that says just repeal blanket zoning and then figure it out. That's a recipe for further disaster. I'm going to do the hard work of fixing zoning.
Calgary is seeing more housing built since rezoning was passed in May of 2024, and the city led the way in housing starts in the first 2 quarters of this year. But the strategy has also faced major community pushback and legal challenges.
We've seen that blanket upzoning has not worked. It hasn't influenced affordability. It's attracted a situation where developers are now fueled by cheap money from the federal government.
It's not good from the certainty that our builders need to be able to build the kinds of housing that we need to address both the housing and climate crises.
Jordan Canagan, CTV News, Calgary.
Calgarians will soon be able to vote just about anywhere. The city is rolling out a mobile voting station ahead of the October 20th election. The vote bus returns for the advanced poll period, making 11 stops between October 6th and 11th. It will park at major transit hubs and in new communities to make casting a ballot easier. Elections Calgary says the service could be especially useful given the postal strike and concerns over mail-in ballots.
It has been part of our election model for a number of years. Certainly now that there is the Canada Post strike that may or may not affect the mail-in ballots, we're hoping that the vote bus will help us reach Calgarians where they are.
The vote bus was last on the road in the 2017 election. You can find a full list of voting locations in this story on our website. Beautiful sky out there. Danielle Smith is up next with their Skywatch forecast, and we're still in for some nice fall weather. A little windy out there tonight. Details next.
All right, well, today's still quite toasty. We started October and we got up to 19 degrees for today. 15 is what's normal in the city for this time of year. We're passing all our warmer air, hotter air, I guess you could say, off to the east. Regina got to 25 today, Winnipeg 26, and further east, they're in the teens. Okay, radar and satellite. We have this flow from the southwest. It's been for days now. The mountains keeping all the moisture off into BC and stateside. We're getting the cloud cover materialize here at times. We still have a lot of sunshine. So tomorrow should behave a lot like today did, where we're seeing a good chunk of sunshine in the city and then clouding over later in the day, but still peaks of blue sky. So just to advance this, mainly sunny for the morning. Later in the day, especially closer to the supper hours, early evening, we'll see some clouds increase. And then we'll see the clouds in the far south as well for tomorrow. Key thing for Friday, starting off with sunshine, cloud cover for the far south, and then this is a cold front that will be swiping through. So it arrives Friday night in through Calgary and into the far south as well. This is going to open the gates for cooler air to arrive for our weekend. More fall-like temperatures, you could say. It will likely even spark up some showers Saturday morning, as you can see in the far south. Pincher Creek, Crosens Pass, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat. Looking at the longer range forecast, this is what it means for us. 19 for tomorrow. So again, tomorrow very similar to today. Same daytime high, sunshine for a good chunk of the day, and then some clouds increasing later in the day. We start to cool down though by Friday to 17, which is still a little above normal. By Saturday, we're lucky to get in those double digits. More cloud cover expected, small chance of an isolated shower. Saturday night dipping below the freezing mark, which means a cool start to Sunday morning, and Sunday afternoon only getting to a high in those single digits. However, if you like the warmer temperatures and you still want to hold on to the 20s a little bit, there's some of that in the forecast for you. Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we should be getting back into those 20s.
All right, Danielle, thank you. It started as a group of friends running for a good cause. The good cause remains, and the friends, well, they've grown by the hundreds. Next, more on the Cold Patrol 10K fundraiser next. The Toronto Raptors have traveled to Calgary for training camp. They'll be at the home of the Dinos at the Jack Simpson Gymnasium. The first few practices are closed to the public, but there will be a public practice on Friday at 6 p.m. The Raps did play a pair of preseason games in Calgary in 1996 and 2016. The Raptors will play their first preseason game on October 6th against the Denver Nuggets. A group of young professionals looking for a fun way to give back to their community formed what they call the Cold Foundation. The foundation's biggest fundraiser takes place November 8th and benefits the Alberta Cancer Foundation. The Cold Patrol 10K run has close to 600 people signed up with a goal of raising $100,000. Kevin Fleming has more.
Cold Garden is the end point for this year's Cold Patrol 10K run, and the beverage company is one of the sponsors of the event that started small in 2023.
When they first tapped on our shoulder, it was like just them, really, like just their group of buddies running around. But we knew they had a really great mindset behind it, a good vision, and we're not surprised by the growth, but it's definitely like, wow, they did it.
That first year, the group raised $24,000 and set their sights higher for 2024. Last November, the run saw 300 participants with more than $64,000 raised.
We seem to be able to get in front of young philanthropists who want to, not necessarily go to stuffy dinners or galas and want to raise money in kind of a new, exciting way.
The Alberta Cancer Foundation is the recipient of all of the funds raised by the Cold Foundation.
Cancer really affects everyone, so whether you run, whether you walk, cheer, fundraise, whatever you might like to do, it's about something bigger. It's about Albertans, or giving Albertans more time, more hope, more moments.
Andrew Black is impressed at how people came together for the cause last year.
That was just so special to see 300 people that we knew, didn't know, and some of the donations that came through that were naming some of the individuals who were close to those people and who had been impacted by cancer was just such a special moment for us.
Niall McLeod says he and everyone who takes part in the Cold Patrol 10K have learned a lot about cancer and how their donations make a difference.
We work with a lot of younger people, and they may not have a lot to give, but there's something really fun about building a community around getting people out and kind of rallying behind a cause.
The organizers say they hope their initiative will continue to grow, raising even more funds for cancer research. Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
All right. That's it for us here at CTV News at 11:30. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. We'll see you soon.